starting off Moctober the right way by cutting up the most popular moc toe, the Red Wing 875 Classic Moc, and I'm gonna give away a pair of these, so stay tuned for more info on how to win. So what is Moctober? It's just a combination of the word moc toe and October, Moctober, and I'm gonna spend the entire month cutting open the most popular moc toe boots and reviewing them. And just like the white sneaker series, at the end of this month, we'll do a finale video where we'll compare them all and choose an overall winner of the series and give out some awards like best looking, best built, and best value. And speaking of the white sneaker series, at the end of that series, I asked you guys, what's the best thing I can do to improve series moving forward? And the biggest thing was the sponsors. So for this Moctober series, I'm not taking any sponsors from the companies that I'm reviewing and only doing independent sponsors like Purple for this video. And I think that'll really help improve the channel and grow the channel, but that means I'll be making several times less money per video that I do. So if you guys could just do me the huge favor of subscribing to my channel, it'll make all the difference in the world. It'll make it worth it for not taking the sponsorships from the boot companies, and it'll help grow my channel because my overall goal is to get to 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's a pretty lofty goal, but it is doable because literally if 1 in 10 people who watched probably this video were subscribed, we'd be there within a couple weeks or a month. So, and if we do reach 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I'll do some crazy giveaway where we give away like 30 pairs of boots and $3,000 worth of store credit or something. So consider subscribing. It'll make a huge difference to me, and enough pleading with you guys. Let's get to the information on these boots. So the brand is Red Wing. The style is the 875 Classic Moc in the 6-inch. The color is the Oro Legacy leather, and they retail for $279, and they're made in the United States. And these are some of the more popular boots in the world. I would say probably top 5 most recognizable boots. And they actually got their start in the 50s when Red Wing designed these for hunters and outdoorsmen. And then they gained a lot of popularity with factory workers and construction workers because of how comfortable they are and how durable they are. And now 50 years later, we've had this resurgence of heritage style boots coming back into popularity, and they're popular all over again. And they really are an iconic boot because, you know, I've had them on my buy list for years and I could never afford them. But now that I've finally got them and been wearing them around for this series, I've never had anyone really come up and talk to me about what boots I was wearing until I started wearing these. And I've had several people come up and be like, hey, are those Red Wings? Or hey, where'd you get those boots? Or like, I've been wanting to buy a pair of these. How are they? So they really are an iconic boot that are really sought after and a really popular style. And people really like these boots because they've kind of got that rugged heritage look, but they're comfortable and you can work in them if you have to. They're not gonna fall apart. So now let's kind of talk about what we can gather from these boots and go through some of the information before we cut them in half. So starting with the leather, this is a full grained oil tanned leather, which is a chrome tan leather with lots and lots of oils infused into it to give it a little bit of waterproofing and that supple feel and that nice pull-up effect you can see there. And it's tanned by the Red Wing owned tannery SB Foot. And when I first got these boots, I saw that bluing on the inside of the leather, which is usually a bad sign for quality of leather. But I really doubted that Red Wing would put out a terrible leather in their most popular boot, or at least one of their most popular boots. So I contacted the tannery and talked to a guy named Jeff who kind of explained some stuff to me and went through some information. And so talking to him, did a little bit extra research. I came up with 3 reasons why you see bluing on the inside of this leather and it's not a big deal. So the first reason is that, like we saw in the white sneaker series with the white leather, they leave the core of that leather blue, and part of that is so they get that white bright color, because if you dyed it in a different color, you'd be covering it up with white and it wouldn't look as brilliant. So with this leather, where you've got the really light undertones or that pull up when you bend the leather or use the leather, you wouldn't have that same bright effect if the core of the leather was dyed a darker color like you see in like a Chrome XL or some of the other colors that are dyed all the way through. You could still get that effect, it just wouldn't be as distinct and as light of a pull-up. The second reason is SB Foot told me that this is a heritage style boot, and so he wanted to use the heritage style tanning process, or the tannage. So this is the exact same way they tanned this leather that they did back in the day. And so they wanted to retain that same look, that same feel, and that exact same tannage because it's a heritage style boot. So I thought that was kind of cool. And the third reason goes really far down the leather rabbit hole. And my AC went out today, so it's hot in here with all these lights. But let me read you what they said. So I was in my office editing and I bored myself listening to myself read through that. So I'm just gonna put it here. and you can read through it, pause it and read through it if you want. But I also wanted to show you guys some samples I got from Horween that might give a little more context to the bluing on this leather and why they left it blue. So the first one I want to show you is the Chrome Excel, or the natural Chrome Excel. So this is a chrome tan leather that's retanned all the way through, so you don't see any of the bluing. It's not dyed necessarily, but it's a darker color because they infuse so many oils and fats and other things inside of this leather that it gives it a darker shade. And then I've got a Rio Latigo sample from Horween again that has bluing on the inside, and I think part of the reason they leave that bluing is to keep those really light undertones and highlights in this leather, because I think if it was dyed all the way through, I don't think you could get quite as bright of a leather without that bluing on the inside. So, but you can get that bright of a leather in a vegetable tan leather. So a lot of times people, when they see this leather, would assume it's a veg tan leather because of the color. So hopefully that adds some context. Now we'll get back to the video and I'll get back to editing. So I think it's still a high quality leather, and it's just like, leather's so hard to make general rules about because there's so many different types of leather. But after wearing this leather for a long time and all the research I did, I wouldn't have any concerns with the longevity or the quality of this leather. It's just an old school tannage and it's an old school leather, so they kept it on their old school boots. So as for wearing these boots, so I did wear these boots around for a solid 2 weeks straight, and these are a monster to break in. These are some of the hardest boots that I've ever had to break in. Like, this tongue is, the first time I laced it up, I couldn't even get it tight enough because that tongue was so stiff. And what I did is I put a ton of mink oil on there to loosen that tongue up and get it nice and supple, which made it significantly easier to break in. But as you can see from this dark area here, it bled into the rest of the leather, kind of causing that shadow on there. So if you don't want that, don't put tons of mink oil on there like I did. You could use some Chamberlain leather milk. That's a really good conditioner. That isn't gonna change the color of your leather very much. So if you're gonna do that, use a really light conditioner. Otherwise you'll get a dark color. And if you don't care about the dark color, do it. It makes it a lot easier to break these in. Now moving to the inside of the boot. So this boot has a leather insole. It's a full vegetable tan leather insole, which I'm a huge fan of, because it doesn't stink as fast or as much, and it breaks into the shape of your foot and is a lot more durable and long lasting than like a fiberboard or some of the other materials people put in boots. The next thing I noticed was how far up this tongue is gusseted. But as you can see, the tongue goes all the way up to the second eyelet. And that's part of the reason why these are so hard to break in, but it also helps keep keep dirt and water out of your boots. And these boots aren't waterproof, but they are water resistant, and having that tongue gusseted so high helps prevent any water from sneaking between the upper and the tongue. Another thing I didn't notice or didn't know until I actually got these in hand is these are built in a more traditional moccasin way, where this top piece of leather and this piece that wraps around are two separate pieces. A lot of times you'll see this all be one single piece. I don't think it really matters one way or the other, but I thought it was worth noting because I didn't notice it. Next thing is this Puritan stitch on the side here. So this Puritan stitch is a really interesting stitch, and boot companies use it on areas that have a lot of stress and a lot of movement, because it's a lot more durable stitch when it comes to pulling and movement. And what's interesting about this stitch is they stitch these with the same machines that they probably stitched these boots originally with, because the machines they use are called a Puritan stitch machine, and it has 3 needles and stitches all 3 of these thread lines at the same time. And it also, there's so many cool things about this. It also pulls a thread through a little vat of liquid wax, and you can see just a little bit of that shine of the wax on top of there still. And those machines are like 100 years old. There's only a few people that know how to maintain them and keep them going. It's really cool that they're using machines that are almost 100 years old to still make boots that people are wearing 50 years after they introduced these boots, or 70 years. Next is the construction. So this is a 360 Goodyear welted constructed boot, which basically means this welt stitch goes all the way around the boot. And if you're not familiar with what a welt is, it's just a strip of leather that goes all the way around the boot that is sewn to the upper of the boot and also sewn to the next layer down in the boot. And you almost can't see the next layer down, but it's a harder rubber layer just below the welt that is then glued to this crepe outsole that Red Wing makes. But what's even better about this particular style of boot is that Goodyear welt stitch doesn't go all the way through the boot. So when this outsole wears out, all the cobbler has to do is literally just peel this old outsole away and glue a new one on. And as long as the rest of the boot's in good condition, that's all you have to do to resole it. And that's really important for this style of outsole, because these crepe outsoles are really, really comfortable, but they wear out so fast. And so it makes it a lot easier and a lot faster to resole, and you could even do it from home if you have most of the right equipment. Now finally, what's on the inside of this boot? Red Wing's not shy about sharing what's inside of their boots, and we know that there's a cork layer on the inside, and the cork layer is just a filler layer that molds to the shape of your foot over time. And so with that leather insole and the cork, after you wear these for a while, you'll basically have a footprint inside of your boot, kind of like when you were a kid and you'd go find some wet cement and put your hand in it, you'd have that footprint or that handprint. Same thing inside of these boots. Now let's cut this thing open after we talk about the sponsor of the video, which is Purple. So some of you guys might remember when I moved the shop down here to Salt Lake, me and Toaster were stuck living out of the office and sleeping on a $20 mattress I got from the local thrift store. And it was a really stark reminder of how important quality sleep on a quality mattress is for me. Because once I finally got my apartment and got my mattress down here, the amount of productivity and energy I had was night and day difference. So when it comes to doing a sponsored video for Purple, they're about as easy as it gets. There's really three things that make them different and make them stand out to me. The first one is that Purple grid that everyone knows Purple for. It really cuts down on pressure points. So like if I'm sleeping on a crappy mattress, my entire hip will go numb halfway through the night. And the second one is it keeps really cool and it doesn't get that swampy feel like you feel in some mattresses, because first, you got that Purple grid that keeps it cool, and it also has 2,500 air channels that make the mattress a lot more breathable. And the third one is it's made out of high quality materials here in the United States, which I'm a huge fan of. So you should consider buying a Purple mattress for the same reasons we buy high quality boots, because quality matters, you get what you pay for, and like that old saying goes, invest in your bed and in your boots, because if you're not in one, you're in the other. So thanks to Purple for sponsoring this video, and check out their mattress via the link in my description. Now it's time to cut these open, and I don't want to do it, but I really want to show you guys what that foot imprint looks like, and I want to leave more sizes open for the giveaway. So, and I just barely got these broken in, and I really love these boots. So whatever, let's get to it. All right, we got it cut in half. Let's see what's inside. So I thought that was really cool to see my footprint in this boot so fast. You know, it's only been a couple weeks, and it was actually more of a footprint than I expected. But if you saw when I was in that cutting footage, you can see exactly where my foot broke into that shoe and where that leather started to compress and that cork layer started to compress, so I have that footprint in there. I thought that was kind of a cool little thing. It's kind of gross, but also kind of cool. So now let's go through the layers, starting with the outsole, working our way up. So this is that crepe, really soft, Christie style outsole. And then above that is that little layer I was talking about that the sole is glued to. And above that is the cork layer. And then above that is the leather insole. The insole is really thick. I wasn't expecting it to be that thick. That's a really thick piece of leather. And then from there, we've got the leather counter and a little bit of a liner at the forefront of the boot, a little bit of a toe stiffener, thermoplastic at the toe, and that's pretty much it. You know, there's not a whole lot to this boot. It's a really simple construction, but a really effective construction. There's a reason that Goodyear welted boots and mock toe boots have been around for forever. They're a really solid construction. So now what do I think of this boot, or what's my overall review of this boot? I was a little bit concerned coming into this that the leather insole is going to be thin and that there wouldn't be much cork filling, but as you can see, that's a big old chunk of leather and there's a good amount of cork filling in there. So I'm pleasantly surprised by this boot. You know, this is a boot that I've been wanting for years, and I forgot to talk about the leather thickness. But the leather thickness is 2.5 to 2.3 millimeters. So good thick leather, long lasting leather. So overall, I think it's a really great boot, but we don't really have anything else to compare it to, and that's why I like doing these series. Is I can tell you this is a good priced boot or a well-priced boot, but unless we have anything else to compare it to, there's really no context to it. And if you're considering buying these boots, I made a video on how to get the correct size of these, because these are notoriously hard to find the right size, and that's why half the time you see people wearing these boots, they look like they're wearing clown shoes because they bought the wrong size. So I made a video solely devoted to finding the correct size for you in this particular boot. And that kind of brings us to the rules of the giveaway. So to win a pair of these, I've got sizes from 8.5 to 11 from that sizing video, and I'm gonna give away one pair, unless this video does really well. I might give away a few pairs if this video does really well. All you need to do is, first, be subscribed to the YouTube channel. Second, follow me on Instagram. And then third, go watch this sizing video, figure out what size you are, and in that comment section of the sizing video, leave a comment with what boot size you are and your username for your Instagram so I can message you when you won. And that's all there is to it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what you think and consider subscribing, because that one little teeny click makes all the difference in the world to me and my channel. So thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. See ya. Oh wait, Danner bull runs are Thursday. That's the next boot. So look out for that one on Thursday. See ya.